Welcome to the disdat podcast, episode 115. Welcome back, everyone. How's everyone feeling? I hope everyone's all right, bro. Enjoying their life. Coming in onto Christmas, bro. We're very close. What do we got? We've got 2 months, not even. So it's like, I know that I'm 52 days sober off the alcohol and haven't been taking anything else either. Not that I'm used to it, but not that I'm used to taking anything is what I was trying to say. But nonetheless, we've got another maybe about 48, 50 days to Christmas. So, because I know that 100 days was my goal to not have a drop of alcohol, and that lands at around Christmas Eve or the day before, give or take, this, that. Wherever I'm going to rip back in and smash myself again, which smash myself is about 4 to 5 drinks, I don't know. We'll see. You know, so far, just to give you a weekly update on how I'm feeling in respects to not drinking, the only thing is that everything's like there's no peaks and troughs. There's no mountains and valleys. It's all just kind of the same. I go to sleep the same. I wake up the same. The mood's about central. I'm not getting pumped up or excited about anything. I'm also not really feeling low or down or regretful about anything. So it's just a nice, stable mood, albeit I need a little bit of stimulation station sometimes. So it's like when I go for a drink, I get pumped up. I look forward to it. At the moment, there's been nothing kind of looking forward to because I'm just going to work, you know, cutting the lawn at home, freshing the missus, cooking and spending time with my kids. But that's okay, bro, because, you know, how else am I going to go through the forest of my own brain and mind when it's continuously being poisoned and or distracted by substances like alcohol? Like, so to me, this is a sociological and intrapersonal experience. I don't know what intrapersonal means, but people say, you know, sometimes the internet, and then some people call it the intranet. I think it's just geeks trying. It means something, but anyway, this episode, later on, we're going to speak to a friend of mine. His name's John Anthony. He runs a little boutique training company called Transcend. It used to be called Transcender, but a lot of people were confusing it with another political movement. So he ended up changing it to just Transcend. And Johnny's been doing this for over a decade now, maybe more, 15 years. Internationally, he gets flown out to London. He goes around the whole of Australia. He does American stuff. And he trains teams in regards to positive psychology. He trains teams in communication, master of ceremony, like emceeing, like what I'm doing, rapping, stitching, plugging. Also like personal positivity. He does a lot of positive psychology. He's researched, he's done courses, he's read up well, and he's been doing this for many good times. But communication is like his forte. And I got a range of questions from the Vladiators that came. We only spent about half an hour with Johnny this time. I just want to see how it's going to flow. And it went well, bro. The guy's got some mad advice for people. There's advices here about breaking up with people, getting your heart broken, being depressed, living in a negative world, real happy and what do you call it? Not uppity, but yeah, like real happy topics we're going to be chatting about. But unfortunately, this is life, bro, and it's not always just going to be like, what do they call it? Unicorns and rainbows and cocaine. So it's just going to be a little bit of a chat about life in general and how to overcome things that are happening to us all anyway. For anyone that wants to come to the Sydney show, is about 30% left tickets. I don't know what that works out. It's only a small room of 200, 250 people. So make sure you get onto mycousinvlad.com and get the tickets, or just Google Comedy Store Sydney and they've got their own ticket link there. It's in Sunday week on the 13th of November at 7:30 p.m. at Fox Studios Sydney. I'm doing an intimate show. I'm going to film it. I'm going to cut up some pieces and put them on everything. And it's a bunch of new material that no one has ever heard of. That's going to be previewed and I suppose like worked on and trialed and tested for the next tour, which is going to be the second half of next year. Much bigger tour than what we've currently witnessed. So make sure you come along. Sydney Vladiators, even Melbourne Vladiators, Brisbane, whoever, Perth, fly over, bro. I mean, fly over for the night, have a mad night out at Nobu on Saturday night, and then Sunday come watch a show, and after the show, go home, bro. You know, go home, take the missus, take your boyfriend, do whatever you want. News this week, bro. One of my favorite rappers, Takeoff from the Migos, he got shot and killed, bro, and that absolutely buckled me. I don't usually get too down and sad about this kind of stuff because obviously it's got nothing to do with me. He's an entertainer. I've never met the bloke. I have watched him live in Sydney, but I've never, you know, I haven't got a personal relationship. And Lil Wayne says if you get affected by anything that doesn't have anything to do with you, you're crazy. I mean, that's a little bit cold, but I did get like 7 degrees of separation, 6 degrees of separations. I'm probably know this bloke somewhere personally. By the 4th degree, I'd be able to find someone that knows him. So it's like, it's not only that, I like the music, but I also like the person from what I saw online. Like, he was a very humble guy, a very quiet guy, a very respectful guy. He seemed like the little cousin that used to come out with the older, louder cousins and be that kind of guy that was just happy to be there. And that's the saddest part about the entire story. Like when I heard the news, I went on Twitter for no reason the other night. I never go on that place. Even that Elon Musk has taken it, I don't give a shit. But I just went on it because I was bored and I wanted to have a look at news or whatever skewed opinion everyone has out there. So I had a look and there was a hashtag Takeoff or Migos or Quavo or something like that. And I clicked on it and there was like, you know, thousands of tweets saying Takeoff has been shot and killed, and I could not believe that. Like, firstly, the Migos guys don't seem like they're brawlers. They don't seem like they're shooting people. Shoot like these people from Chirac, which is Chicago. They changed it to Chirac, a moronic movement that like promotes just murdering of each other. That's what they're doing, and then in the end, they've got the audacity to say that the police are bad, even though they're the ones like shooting each other's houses and each other. It's like there's no accountability whatsoever. Doesn't matter. It's a different story. I don't live there. It's not my business. But this poor guy got caught in crossfire, as the story goes, and got hit by a stray bullet in the head, dead, gone. Takeoff, from what I could tell, the most humblest, sweetest, and technically gifted rapper. And everyone that's out there talk about mumble rap, I am a connoisseur of rap. Since Run DMC, there's no rap that I haven't heard. All right, I've heard rap that talks about murdering every single thing in sight, and there's rap that talks about having sex with 49 girls in an hour. I've heard rap that's positive, upbeat, downbeat, murder rap. I said that before. Rap about falling in love, rap about hating women, rap about loving women. I've heard rap from every like genre, subgenre of rap. But Migos blew my mind when they came out. I show my missus Migos and she's like, turn it off. This is just nonsense. This is rubbish. She does have a point, but she doesn't have the articulated kind of, not comical, but creative mind that I have, which I can dissect amongst not just the lyrics. I look at the flow. I look at the timbre in the voice. I look at the syncopation station. I look at everything that they did, and they were fiercely original. When Migos came out, that had the way they rap, it sounded like, you know, a cricket commentator in Australia or some guy that's doing the horses. But you could understand every word that these guys were saying. Well, at least I could. Where you listen to these drugged up mumble rappers and there's a mad beat and there's just a person that's taking like way too much cough syrup. He's never had not even a little cough in his life, probably either from the syrup or from not, I don't know, but the guy doesn't cough and he's just drinking cough syrup like a 7-year-old kid in primary school. So I don't like the mumble rap shit. Like, I listen to it and it's all right. The beats are kind of good sometimes, and then I'm like, whatever. But mumble rap to me is like, give it or take it. If it never came out, I think it would be better for the world. But these guys weren't mumble rap. These guys were actual rappers, but they rap fast, really fast. When they dropped the song Versace, but there's a hat on me like I'm no Manati. That was really fast, bro. But not only fast, articulate. But if you hear them talking in real life, you can't understand anything they're saying. Like, Takeoff was getting interviewed by some guy and he goes, I feel sorry for you, man, because you were left off Bad and Bougie. That song by Migos, Bad and Bougie, it's their biggest hit ever. It's got like 1 billion streams on Spotify. And he goes, do it look like a band on Bad and Bougie? And the guy goes, sorry, man? He goes, do it look like a band on Bad and Bougie? And all you can hear, he goes, what was that? The third time he goes, do it look like I get him with the bad and bush? He goes, nah. He goes, that's what I'm saying there. He goes, what? He goes, that's what I'm saying. But when you hear him rap, you know, you can hear everything. He projects his voice. The words are clear. It's just fast. You've just got to have the ear to be able to, you know, chop up, decode the fast raps. But I like this style. Very unpredictable, fast. Sick voice. Absolute tragedy, bro. I'm genuinely cut by this. It's not something that I don't, as I said, there's been like so many. Nipsey Hussle got killed. I think all murders is just atrocities. It's not good, bro. Killing each other like that. But when it hurts even more when it's over dumb shit and when it's like by mistake as well. And Kendrick Lamar said, you know, what did he say? The real hero's the one in front of the gun. So it's like Takeoff is the one that's gonna get. You know, he gets to enter heaven in my eyes, the way that he, you know, got done like that. But it was just horrible, bro. And that made me think a lot about the rap. And then, like, you go down these rabbit holes, you're watching different people, and there's so many rappers that are crying and saying not Takeoff, and then they're going, we don't want to rap anymore. That's enough. Like, you see some stuff like this and you're like, that's enough of the culture. The culture's doomed. It's shit. There's nothing positive about it except for the money that gets made by doing it, and you're psyching up people. Rap, that's all rap is, bro. Rap is like Coca-Cola. It started off with a message back in the Run DMC days, and Cool and the Gang and all of these guys, they started off with messages. Public Enemy started off with a mad message. Even NWA had messages, but then they just started got a little bit too hard. Fuck the police coming straight from the underground. Like, it's too much, bro. And now Ice Cube, in every single movie he does, he's a cop. I mean, hypocrite warning, Ice Cube. First, you're taking videos of you walking in and out of jail cells. You hired that to do it in Hollywood. And every album is based around how much cops are bad. And now every movie you're a cop. Like, I mean, that's what happens when you get old. You just turn into a conservative person. No matter how much of a lefty, anti-establishment, cop-hating freak you were, you end up being a cop. Same with Ice-T, that drink. I think he's playing a cop. He's in that investigation, CSI, or I don't know what show he's on, but there's cops everywhere. Then these people are cops, which is just ironic. It's funny. It's hypocritical. Anyway, that's the game. That's why I've always said rappers are wrestlers. Don't believe them, you know. But when you see shit like this happen, you go, "There's katastrofa, it's a gref." I feel sorry for the bloke. So there might be about 3 out of the 10,000 people that listen to this that know who Takeoff is anyway, but they know who the Migos are. Rappers, so that wasn't good, bro. Anyway, and then I just decided to speak to Johnny, bro, and Johnny goes, man, let's do a little conversation station and let's chat about this, that, and the other. And I'm gonna put him on now, and then we'll do some ads in the middle and this, that. But up until then, get your tickets for the Sydney show. It's gonna be on November the 13th at 7:30 p.m. at Fox Studios. Comedy Store, Sydney. It's an iconic place. It's a small room. It's going to be a fun show. Make sure you get your tickets, mycousinvlad.com, or go to comedystore.com.au, I think it is, and get your tickets. Anyway, Google it, bro. I don't have to tell you how to do Googles. All right, let's get on with the interview. Before we get cracking on with this interview, I want to give a big shout out to Angel Grove Toys and Collectibles, a major sponsor of the podcast. They've sent me a pack here. Angel Grove, make sure you get in touch with them. Their website is angelgrovecollectibles.com. Angel Grove Collectibles. Check out the Ninja Turtles, bro. Massive stuff, bro. Have a look here. People are going to lose that. Ninja Turtles blimps. This is one of my favorite things they've sent. It's a Power Rangers. How good is that, bro? It's Power Rangers / Ninja Turtles, right? So the Power Rangers, this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Raphael as a Power Ranger. You can see it with the red there. And the purple guy is, I think, one of the Foot Clan people. New Spider-Man. This is Cracker Spider-Man by Marvel Comics that have come out. Angel Grove Collectibles give you 10% off for the code VLAD. Make sure you jump in and get 10% off. They've got more other stuff on their website, obviously. Digimon, Pokemon, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Demon Slayer, One Piece, Naruto, My Hero Academia. They're a Band Presto partner. One of the only Band Presto partners, the official Band Presto partner in Australia. And they're the best manufacturers in the world for anime figures. So all Band Presto partners are genuine, bro. Make sure you get in there. You got a whole bunch of 90s and 2000s memorabilia. Jump on the site, have a look, www.angelgrovecollectibles.com. Angel Grove Collectibles. Go onto the Instagram again of the same name, Angel Grove Collectibles. You get 10% off for being a Vladiator. Put the code VLAD in to the checkout at the end where the discount code is, and get yourself some discounts on it. But Christmas is looming. Make sure you jump in and have a look on the website. They get stuff from around the world. Angel Grove Collectibles, official sponsors of the podcast. Right. All right, guys, welcome to the disdat podcast. Don't know what episode it is, but we're chopping in a friend of mine who just stopped over in the infamous double brick furnace / freezer that I do the disdat podcast in. It's my good friend John Anthony from Transcend. Welcome aboard, bro.
Thanks for having me, Vlad, you juicy little bandit.
No worries, bro. Listen, Johnny is an old friend of mine. How long have we known each other for?
I'm going to put it somewhere between 16 and 18 years.
Long time.
Yep.
Since we used to play in bands, different bands, and we've had a jam together in the same band and stuff like that, ripping guitars. And John has moved not only from you still do music,
yeah,
right? You still do music, but now you do. I called you in here to have a chat to the Vladiators that send in questions about specific stuff. What do you do actually? What do you do for work now?
Yeah, so I guess the best way to describe it is I'm an education consultant. My company specializes in things like positive psychology, neuroscience, innovation, workplace creativity, and advanced communication skills. So I go into places and just try to help people.
All right. The only part that I understood there was go into places and help people. I don't understand the neuroscience. You sound like Elon Musk, but that's okay. The people might understand a little bit more. You know what I'm about.
Yeah, 100.
Rap stitch plug. Not trying to jumble minds and stuff like that.
Lots of plugging. He's a plug fiend.
Yeah, so we've asked the people, I've asked the Vladiators out here in respect to what they would like to know in the positive. So what is positive psychology firstly?
Yeah, that's a cool question. So I only cracked open positive psych around 7 years ago, and what I learned when I went to study it was that once upon a time, when you look at psychology, it used to be the balanced approach to looking at what's wrong with people, the deficit, their trauma, their neuroses, their anxiety, and trying to fix them. But it also used to be the study of what's right with people as well. So what can we learn from these people with super high levels of optimism and well-being? And they call that thriving. And this has gone right back to ancient Greece. It used to be this really balanced approach. But then sometime around World War I, what's happened in the whole field of psychology is they've put all of the funding all over the world into only looking at what's wrong with people. What's wrong and how can we fix them? How can we get them back to being normal? And that's a dangerous word to use when you're talking about mental health.
Yeah, you don't want to be normal anyway.
No one does.
Yeah.
And so positive psych is only the study of people with super high levels of optimism and well-being. And we look at those people and we say, well, what can we learn from these people?
Right.
And take interventions to apply to our lives that push up our levels of optimism, well-being, with a view towards be more resilient, bounce back from change, overcome shit, stay agile, thrive. And so that's what it is. It's
stay shredded. Stay shredded.
Stay shredded.
That's
exactly.
Rule number 2. Have you heard of Alfred Adler?
No, I don't think so.
Right, he was, now if you're going to cut that, he was the godfather or forefather.
Let's say God.
Let's say godfather of the positive movement. When Freud was going around talking about you want to ram your mom and stuff like, because he did say that.
Absolutely.
Freud was like, if you like a certain woman, you could be wanting to go left with your own,
into your mum,
into your mum,
left into your mum.
And that's Freud. So, and he's also another godfather of some sort. I don't think he had kids though with his mum.
And if he did, they weren't
Alfred
right.
Adler was another Scottish guy or Swedish or Switzerland guy, and he was around the same universities with Freud. But while Freud was like, oh, you're stuffed up because your mum or your dad slapped you in the kitchen, for example, Alfred was like, okay, good, that's been done. What can we learn and grow from there? Whereas Freud was like, you're buckled because of that. It was literally the opposite.
Yeah.
It was like, don't worry so much about that. How do you overcome and learn and grow from that? Whereas Freud was more about the diagnostic side of why
let's learn what happened, study your trauma.
Yes, it was more
crack the blueprint,
that's right.
and then deviate.
Adler is a positive philosopher.
Interesting.
Psychologist, philosopher. Anyway, I read a book on this guy. Okay, so your company is called Transcend.
That's right. Yeah, Transcend.
And you help what companies, businesses, individuals?
Yeah, that's right. So I play mostly in the corporate space, and usually I'll run workshops. So I go into companies and I hang out with anywhere from 25 to 30 people. I try to cap it there if it's a workshop, but then sometimes you'll see me doing like keynote speeches and talking to big rooms. But mostly I try to keep it intimate. 20, 25 max, and that way it turns into more of a conversation. You think about it, anyone that cares about their mind or about trying to transcend the way they think, it doesn't really work at a theoretical level, doesn't it? You can't just say shit and expect people to change. It's about letting them talk through it themselves with a view towards their own practical applications. How am I going to take what the research says but make that shit look and feel and sound like me?
Right. You don't mind going out to a few thousand people in the disdat podcast, do you? Because this is between 5 and 12,000. Depends.
100.
You're fine.
The more the merrier, my
I will
friend.
put it up on the screen here. You're going to see all different links and stuff. All right, so we're going to cut this, but I'll get to some of the Vladiator questions that I got today. All right, first question comes from... Should I say the names?
Yeah, say the names, yeah.
Christy Haywood. How to not rely on your person to fill your cup and to be able to fill your cup by yourself.
Yeah, perfect.
Do you know what that means?
Yeah, I think it's talking about, so this person's probably speaking about their other half.
Right.
And, this is always difficult to crack open because often you need to rewind all the way back to where it was when you were a little kid that you sought attention, affection, validation. And what can happen sometimes is, depending on the way that you're put together, people will jump from one relationship to the next. People that do that, they treat every relationship like an island. Right. And what can sometimes happen is you're using the relationship to fill a void, to cover over some needs that can only really be addressed if you spend a bit of time solo, So it's a tricky question to answer for people who are currently in a union, but the idea is, what can you do to find yourself single, even just for a minute? See what happens if you're spending 6 months on your own, because the idea is, when you have another half, you should only be thinking about, how can I add value to them? If you're in there going, what can I get? What do I need? Give it to me. There's something really treacherous about the dynamic. And so, it's one of my favorite analogies, and a lot of the Vladiators might have heard this one, but as the airlines are fond of saying, you need to adjust your own oxygen mask before you run around trying to help everybody else.
Right.
So it's got to begin with you
So
first.
You don't recommend people just go from island to island their whole life like some eel trying to find a place of rest, you know what I mean? And they do that, by the way, the eels.
Well, this is what
they
it
go from
is.
the Cook Islands to Parramatta River and back sometimes, trying to find someone to smash.
Sometimes out of the pond in the botanical gardens in Sydney, through these little brick tunnels into the harbour and back again.
And there you go. That happens. That's true. Don't be an eel is the answer there, I think, to paraphrase you.
Don't fossick in the creep tunnel.
All right, next question. All right, Alejandro Gonzalez with a couple of extra S's for effect.
Cool.
Dealing with being dumped and breaking up for the first time.
Yeah, well, a lot of us have got some personal experience with this. It might sound funny to get into it, but I would say that you are missing out on one of the most crucial human experiences if you never get your heart broken. Yeah, it ties into that first question. If you're in a union, but part of it is about them needing to fill your cup up, make you okay, keep you feeling safe, then it means there's a there's a void of development as an independent. You know, what am I doing on my own to realize that I've got the keys to my own kingdom and I am all that I need to make myself happy? And once you charge up into your full power and start pushing that version of yourself out into the universe, you know what happens, Vlad? You begin to draw in the partner that you're supposed to have.
Well, you become immaculate,
Well,
more immaculate than the previous version. Some people don't learn anything, but they need it smashed a few times, you know.
I think a cool way to put it is you won't become full immac if you're relying on someone else to get you there.
Yeah,
you do it on your own, and then you'll draw in the person who you're supposed to help.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I get a lot of questions like that. Why can't I find a partner? Why can't I find a girlfriend? And I did a rant on it the other day, and I was like, you attract kind of what you are in many ways when it comes to attraction. And there's girls that are saying, I only attract certain type of a bloke. I don't know them personally, these girls, and I don't want to be honest. But, you know, they're saying they're having problems, but I don't think they are. I think it's a perception thing.
And it's tricky, you know, to your fan who's written the question,
Alejandro,
it's a gift, man. You know, getting your heart ripped out is actually a gift. It's hard to see it, but the lessons that you'll learn from it, the way that you'll develop yourself, the resiliency that you build up, the agility and your ability to charge up your own shits, fill your own cup to the brim, ends up becoming a life skill that will let you navigate countless breakups, if and when they come.
Can I ask you, do you feel that sometimes, not speaking personally now, when Rachel cheated on me when I was 15, fuck you, Rachel, right, at the caravan park in Nelson Bay.
Rachel, you biatch.
Cheated on me with some guy called Jay. That's a letter. You know what I mean? It's not even a full name. And anyway, do you reckon that you could get so icy that you don't show love then afterwards, that you're a little bit self-protective because you've been
100%.
mauled?
It's a trauma reaction, isn't it? Think about it. It's a trauma response.
So, well, then, to elaborate on her question, or Alejandro's, how do you then be open and loving still when you know that this person could leave you in the gutter again?
You know, this is one of the breakthroughs that I had, because I've had my heart ripped out. You know, I remember I dated the girl from the northern beaches and she ripped out my soul, right?
Soul's gone.
That might be for another podcast.
Yeah.
But you get to a point, of course, where you've been burnt really badly and it creates fear for you to start up again.
Yeah,
you meet someone else, all those feelings start rushing in. You think this could be the one or a thing, but I don't want to do it in case I get burnt.
Right.
That's exactly like saying, I don't want to live because one day I'm going to die.
Right, yeah, good point.
What are you doing? You know?
You've got to go into the fray.
What are you doing? You have to.
Yeah.
That's literally like saying, why the fuck should I get out of bed today? Because today might be a bad day. What are you doing? Get out. Go. Have a look.
See, like that's the type of stuff that, like, it's that little sentence right there. It really makes you think that you got to have courage, even though you're going to run the risk of. Yeah, it's like saying, you know, whatever, man. I'm not going to try to do a podcast because no one might listen. And you might get 10,000 listeners, you know? You might turn into Ro Jogan.
Exactly, and Ro Jogs, but with better hair.
Yeah, with way
more shredded.
Way more shredded, and no tats as well. Right, next question. That was good, bro. I like that answer. I hope people get something out of that. I know there's a lot of people out there that are single or coming off relationships or finding it difficult in today's day and age, because it is a little bit of a fake world in respects to what I'm holding right now and what you portray yourself to be.
100. And, you know, I'll say this to you as well, Vlad. It would be way more powerful for you, the listeners, to get yourself mixed up in 4 or 5 or 6 pretty shit relationships and learn from all of them than stay safe and stay guarded and do nothing. Because if you don't do that, you're not growing, you're not learning. You're not being resilient, which means that if and when the right one comes along, you have no reference point. Who are you comparing them to if you spend your whole shit being safe up in your ivory tower? You got to climb out of there and try it.
What about like arranged marriages in India though? And some of them last like forever. Well, most of them do because they don't have a choice really.
Yeah,
let's just say.
But that's always tricky with cultural dimensions, because I've got some friends from that part of the world, and often they'll say it starts out bad because they're not stoked about it.
That's right.
But then they work on it and they muck in and they invest and they do what they think's right, align with theirs and their parents' values.
Yes.
And it works.
That's right.
It pops off.
That's what I've heard as well.
Yeah.
Like one of my clients that I'm not going to say their name just in case any other agent's going to door knock them. You know who you are, Bill with the Beamer, little rat. So anyway, These guys, I go to them like, when you guys were single, and she was like, nah, mate. And no, she didn't sound like that. Well, cut that. She goes, me and Prakash, it's not his real name, we got set up, you know what I mean? And I hated the bloke. She goes, but we've learned to love each other. And I suppose that's like little traumas throughout their relationship, very much like the Western way of doing it, which is finding, making mistakes, breaking up and healing. They would have had to do that within wedlock.
In the same union.
In the same union, which there's something very noble about that. I couldn't do it, but there's something very noble about that.
And that's the thing. It's impossible for either of us to judge, because when it comes from culture or a family dynamic, or if there's some kind of system in play where it's connected to your values and the way that the architecture of your family's put together, what are we supposed to pretend like we know about that shit?
Yeah, that's great. You know? Yeah, I respect that. Orange Legal Group. Short word from our sponsors over here, Orange Legal Group. Anyone that's in Victoria, check this out, bro. These guys are the best in regards to legal work for purchasing and selling properties. They're the one-stop shop. They got a lawyer that specialises in property and conveyancing. They got a chartered accountant in the one shop, in the same place, and a mortgage broker. Plus they do wills and estates and statutory law and things like that. I think it's statutory law. I'm not sure. Anyway, Orange Legal Group. I'll put it across the screen over here. Located in Essendon on Mount Alexander Road. Go and see them directly. What they're going to give to the Vladiators is a free contract review for anyone that calls them, emails them and says disdat podcast, and sends the contract to Kenny and the boys at Orange Legal Group. They'll review the contract for free. You've got no obligation. They can check it up, make sure it's all sound before you purchase, and put 10 or 20% of your life savings onto a property and then get dudded. Make sure that you go in with Angel Group. Keep doing that. Orange Legal Group. Because I did Angel Grove, now that's in my head, and it's the double syllables. Anyway, free contract reviews, as I said. Also, a free assessment for your financial borrowing capacity. An accountant works in the same office so they can wrap everything up together, all right? Social media has Orange Legal Group on Facebook and Instagram, but you can call them in Victoria on 8317 1070, 8317 1070, or you can email Kenny and the boys with your contract. Just forward it to property at orangelegalgroup.com.au, property at orangelegalgroup.com.au. They are official sponsors of the podcast. You give them your business, they give us some raps. You're supporting the supporters that support the podcast, bro. The one-stop shop for anything to do with property, law and conveyancing down in Victoria. Orange Legal Group, Stitcher. Word from our sponsors, VIRTUOSYS, bro. Helping businesses balance productivity and cybersecurity, bro. They're family-owned IT company that looks after your business through the IT servers and stuff like that, making sure that no one's hacking you. And you're lucky anyone can hack you. Make sure that you're definitely not hackable when you get with VIRTUOSYS, bro. VIRTUOSYS, VIRTUOSYS. They're giving everyone a big discount when you let them know that you've heard on the disdat podcast. They offer a range of tailor-made support options for businesses, allowing the client to make their own managed IT, service IT, like a Subway for IT. So you pick and choose what you want. They categorize small, medium, large, extra large businesses, and you can pick and choose exactly what you're looking for. And they'll service you and make sure that you get the most cybersecurity backup power so you don't lose anything. So one day you haven't got your head in your hands with a problem with the internet that no one can understand, all right? Improve your business processes through the technology that they supply. And also you can let your staff roam around gallivanting, drinking Long Island iced teas and still work securely from around the world. Check them out. www.virtuosys.com.au, virtuosys.com.au. They are IT service. It's an IT service, an IT service, and they are it. So you want to get to them and they'll look after your whole business. And if your IT server at the moment is catastrophe, get VIRTUOSYS in there. They'll have a look, they'll frame you up, they'll give you a quote, and then once it's all good and done and you're not happy with the others, you can move on and seamlessly streamline over to them. The email is disdat, disdat, at virtuosys.com.au, virtuosys, official sponsors. Support the supporters that support the podcast. Ace Velge here that goes, please ask the psychologist, how can I overcome the love for Gus? Now, Gus is ass, and he put an SOS tab there, like a emoji. This guy is quite famously known as the ass man. He follows the page, and he has a cohort of also arse physicians that follow him, and they also send me a lot of questions pertaining to arse. Some you might even call them, like if they were group the arseholes, you know. And he's also reckons that he might have like a pathology in regards to obsessions with arse. What do you reckon he should do?
So he's worried that
he's married, by the way.
He's worried that he digs on Gus too much.
Yeah, he's like almost hyper focused on us. He probably can't get to work, or while he's at work, instead of worrying about crunching deals, he's worrying about what ass he's walking past. Yeah, crunching ass. Yeah.
And you know what? It's like any relationship that you're in. You have to weigh it up. You say to yourself, is this dynamic adding to my life, or is it subtracting? You know? Yeah. And it's kind of a cool place to pause, because think about any relationship that you're in is about that balance between sacrifice and compromise. Right. You're not always just getting showered with everything that you want the whole time. Every now and then you got to suck it up and give something, don't you?
Yeah, literally. Even
but
sometimes.
that balance, yeah. But it's easy to do an audit, pan back from yourself, go super high, super meta, and say broadly, is this thing that I'm in adding to my life, or is it subtracting? And you know. And you know in your heart of hearts what it's doing. And a big watch out too is not what you wish it was doing, or what you think it should be, or what your fantasy of what it might be is. What's it doing? Is it adding or subtracting? And if in your heart of hearts you know that it's subtracting, flick it and go and find something better, something you deserve.
Man, you got your answer there. It's a deep psychological answer, and you should respect that. Respect. All right, next one. Domster007 goes, how do you stay positive in a negative world?
That is the secret sauce to my whole industry. That's what I do. Okay, so there's so many ways to answer this. There's a great question from our 007, from our agents. Some of us might know this, but it's a cool thing to zoom in on. All of us, everyone, is hardwired for negativity. That's the way we're put together.
Right.
You've got old buggy wiring in your brain, scanning the world for bad shit and showing it to you over and over and over again.
Right.
It's a threat reaction.
For sure, yeah.
And what's crazy about it is, even though we know that, or even in an abstract sense, you kind of know that, it doesn't mean that just because you know that your brain is wired negatively, that you should be positive. It's not that simple. You know, you don't just get to throw a switch. But sometimes just a conscious awareness of that. If you go, okay, look, I'm made to feel like a Bowser, or even worse, people around me are trying to bring me down.
Yep.
And then you start going, well, what's happening is your brain doesn't actually know the difference between things like a physical or a social threats. This is why some people shit themselves when they have to do a presentation. You know, you get up to do a presentation and there's people looking at you. Your brain doesn't know if that's a bunch of lions running at you or if it's just a bunch of people looking at you doing a prez.
Yeah.
And so you get set off.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. What if you went to a party and all of your best friends are there and your family, everyone that you love is at this party, and then that one person who you hate walks in and they go and stand in the corner of the room.
Yeah, you start free falling.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you thinking about? Where's your energy going?
Straight there, yeah.
Because your brain is constantly trying to find bad shit and show it to you because it's trying to keep you safe. What do I have to do right now to keep you safe? And so I heard it put really well once. Someone said, if you want to be someone who pushes up your optimism or pushes up your well-being, it's like walking up an escalator that's going backwards.
Yeah, okay.
You ever done that, Vlad?
As hard, yeah.
You ever done that?
Twice the pace, yeah.
So think about it. If you're walking up an escalator going backwards and you just stop and stand still, you know which way it's going. You're sliding back down again. So it's easy to be a Bowser. It's easy to be neg.
Right.
If you want to pursue optimism and well-being, you have to work harder, man. That's what you just said.
Right. Okay,
and that's why you haven't got billions of people deliriously happy.
Yes.
Because when you don't think about it at all, or when you stay still, your mind will drag you down.
Takes work. All right, that's a very good point. So, like having an immaculate rig, like if I let this out, some people might not say it's that shredded, but whatever.
It is. I've seen it.
It's decently shredded. If I let this go out, I'm going to come out looking like a wrestler or a sumo. You need to work. Same with the mind state, right? It's very easy to slip into negativity. The last few months, I was saying to the Vladiators, has been tougher mentally for me. And I'm not here to whinge and stuff. My missus does enough of that. It's true. So we should get her in the podcast next week, you know.
Get a third couch.
Give her a bit of advice on positivity if you don't mind. Nah, she's more positive than me. I'm only joking, guys, because if you're going to cut that and send it to her, I'm gone. I'm gone. So that is a very good point. You've got to work. Don't you reckon some people are more positive than others just out of the box, literally?
Yeah, there's a lot of arguments about it, about whether it's genetic or how much of it is actually genetic. And there's a little bit of research into it, and particularly when it comes to things like mental health and people who are diagnosed with depression.
Yep.
But an important thing to hold on to is that if you know that you're genetically predisposed to feeling sad or being depressed, striking that balance between accepting it as an area that you need to address versus using it like a crutch or an excuse to justify the fact that you're not doing well and that you never will.
Right.
And there are so many things that we know right at our reach that are going to make us feel better. And in your heart of hearts, you know what it is that you should be doing. It's whether or not people can be bothered.
Yes, okay. You know? Now, what do you reckon about that guy, Andrew Tate? Do you know who he is?
I don't think so.
All right, he's like an not Instagram. He's a businessman from England, but he's been cancelled from every social media.
Oh, is this the dude with the shaved head who's like an angry salesman dude?
Kind of like an angry salesman. He's got some good points, but he says, like, when people go, what do you say about depression? He goes, I don't believe that you should say you have depression. I believe that you shouldn't give it that much. You shouldn't let it own you. He reckons if you give it that ownership, you'll fall in that category of saying, I've got depression, whereas you could say, my situation's fucked up and I feel depressed because of it. And that gives you power. What do you reckon about that? Well, do you reckon that depression is even real or not?
Depression is definitely real. I think that cat is evil for suggesting that it can be dismissed or written off as something that doesn't matter.
But it's long context. He didn't just say it's, he said that if you feel depressed, don't say you have depression.
Yeah, I don't know.
What he's saying.
Because there's a lot of emerging research that talks about how powerful it is to be able to articulate and label your emotions or how it is that you're feeling. I think it's an enormous mistake, for example, to sense that you're feeling depressed, but then try to push that away, or even worse, don't tell people that you are depressed because you think that's going to stop you from feeling that way. Insanity. That's the shittest idea that I've ever heard, Vlad.
Why do you have to go and tell people what?
It's a terrible idea, because we know that we're social creatures, we're tribal creatures, we all crave connection. Even the most introverted of introverts needs their tribe, needs their people. And so the idea that you're supposed to be able to handle things for yourself, keep things to yourself, and manage things on your own flies in the face of everything we know about how it is we evolved as a species. Right. The only reason we're sitting here is because we come from tribes. We hook each other up. Physically, psychologically, physiologically, we help each other. So to try to keep shit to yourself is an enormous mistake. And to suggest that if you're feeling depressed, you shouldn't tell anyone, or you should push it aside or ignore it. Insanity. One of the worst ideas I've ever heard.
Oh, that's a good point. So what do you say to young blokes now that message the show and they're asking about, they're finding it rough to find girls. They're finding it rough to settle down. They're kind of stuck in the manja, which is the soup of the current culture, which you know what it's like. And they kind of feel a little bit hopeless at times. What do you think's a good way to at least get out of that mindset or begin the journey out?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what we're leading to here is, if you're like that, you need to make sure that you've got a handful of mates around you who you can talk to about it. And, it's a tricky thing. There are strong trends, particularly in the circles of young men, where you're made to feel, often from when you're a little kid, that it's okay to pick up a chair and chuck it across the room. You can be angry, but don't be scared. And don't say that you're feeling worried or sad or anxious. Some emotions have been authorized when you're little, and others don't fucking feel that. Don't say that. Don't do that. And so what it means is that worse than people feeling them and trying to push them away, they also feel like they're not allowed to tell their mates and people around them about how they're feeling. Well, they feel shame from it.
Now, okay, what happens, for example, if you got good mates, or what you think are good. You're 24 years old. You think you got good mates, but most of these mates are the ones that are making you feel crap. And then if you come out to these blokes and you go, man, I've been feeling really frustrated. I can't find a missus. I don't like my work. And they just start laughing at you, like having a go, oh, move, bro, this, that, get alive, let's go, let's party away. And do you reckon they're mates, these blokes, or?
It's a great question. You know what? I would answer it this way.
That's life. Like, not everyone's going to come out and go, do you need help? And all. They'll just try to, like, dumb it down. Relax, man, it's all good.
And so it's almost thinking about it this way. Rather than going black and white and saying, are these people my mates or not? Start thinking about categorizing people. So you might say, if I want to go out and have a laugh and talk shit, I've got this circle of friends. They're perfect for that. You know, if I want to open up and share what's in my heart and be vulnerable, I'm going to speak to this person. And so what you start to do is you start to get a little bit more agile about what is it that my different circles of friends do for me? How is it that they add value into my life? Who is it that I'm going to see as a resource for certain things? And then deploy them in whatever way serves your need, you know? So I'll give you an example. Some of my best mates, I've known these guys since I was 6 and 7, they're shit at doing empathy. You know, they can't do it. So if I'm feeling sad or upset or vulnerable and I'm scrolling through my phone, who am I going to call? I don't call them. You know, it doesn't mean they're not my mate. Right? It just means that in this particular circumstance with the need that I need, they're the wrong person to call. And so really, you know, to answer your question, and for your listeners who worry about this shit, you might need to expand your network. If you've only got mates who are your party hardy fuckboys, right, then that's not enough. Because that's only feeding one part of your soul, and there's more that you need. So you got to blow open that network.
There you go. So that's a great point out there for the young listeners in respect to speaking what your feelings are, or how you feel emotionally throughout the year or whatever. It is good to have an expanded. I like that, man. That's really good.
You have to.
All right, I've taken a couple more. I got 2 more, I think. Naomi Yenko, best mate keeps going ghost when he's on good terms with the missus. How do I fix this? So obviously when he's in the shit, he's back with everyone, but as soon as things are going good, ghosts all the friends.
You know, it's such
a kind of a young thing to talk about, but whatever.
Yeah, but it's the theme, and if you look at it, it's the same thing as any relationship. You know, so you know, we spoke to your very first listener who said, "Hey, what about my cup being filled, or how much I need them to fill my cup?" You know, it's the same dynamic going on here. If you've got a best mate, and if their absence is creating some kind of void that's actually a concern for you, then you have to ask yourself, well, am I too heavily invested in this friendship? You know, what is it that's giving me? And when it's not there, is that enough of a problem for me to say, well, hang on, how much gravity do I have in this? You know, one of the beautiful breakthroughs that you'll have.
I like how you didn't try to change your friend.
Oh, that's
you went on your side, which is what you can control, right?
Think about it, and it's hard to flip it. But what if you met someone who you were so fucking in love with that they took so much of your time and resources and attention, you were so into them that maybe you forgot your mates from time to time? Does that make you a shit person? No, it doesn't. It just means that you found something else that you love as much or in a different way to your mates.
Yeah, that's right.
And so again, it's back to people saying, what am I going to do to get so centered that I can celebrate the idea that people will drift in and out of my life at their own frequency, and so long as when they are in my presence, they're adding and not subtracting, then there's someone who's worth my time. If this person is constantly bumming you out, constantly letting you down, making promises and reneging on them, fucking you over, then they're not your friend. They're definitely not your best friend, and they're not your friend. But it's about that balance.
All right, Julian Canha. This is quite similar to another one. But how do you get out of a negative mindset and get into a positive one? I suppose similar, but what about some strategies?
Well, let's get into it. So let's do the obvious shit first. And this stuff is so obvious that it's almost annoying to talk about. Are you getting enough sleep? If not, you got to get on top of that shit. You need to be getting 8 hours sleep. Are you doing any kind of movement at all? And when we talk about movement, people go straight to, you know, picking up weights or shredding themselves at the gym. No, just are you moving? You know, I heard it put really well the other day. You have to think to move, but you have to move to think. So are you getting enough sleep? Are you moving enough? Is your diet shit? And I'm not going to tell you what a good diet is. All your listeners know what they're supposed to be eating. Right?
It's enough info on that, bro.
And then on top of that, there's other shit that's really obvious that people don't do. Have you ever thought about any kind of mindfulness, any kind of meditation, whatever that looks like for you? Have you thought about doing breath work? Even just doing a handful of breathing exercises every day can make a huge difference. Because what's interesting about it is this obvious shit that we're talking about now, if you're struggling to get out of a negative headspace, but you're not doing any of that shit, then who you got to blame about that?
I agree.
You're going to blame?
Yeah.
And that takes
work. All right, just expand on that.
Yeah.
Because it's about a habitual thing, getting out of a negative. How do you, if you're a guy that gets up, eats Cocoa Pops, or a girl,
Yep.
you know, grabs a custard tart, which I had today, sorry.
Yeah.
The Portuguese ones, the little ones. But if you get up, you're eating custard tarts, and you're going to work, you hate your job, you exercise once a month when you got diarrhea and you got to run to the toilet, what do you do then? How do you incrementally change it, and how soon do you see the effects of that?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a lot of emerging research now about habits. You know, if you start Googling it now, all these books popping off about habits.
Yep.
And I think one of the cool ways to think about it is, rather than saying to yourself, what's just my goal? You know, people go, I've got a goal, I'm gonna run 10K, right?
Yeah.
But if all you've got's a goal and no fucking strategy at all about how you're going to go from 0K up to 10, then it's just a stupid goal. It's a thing that you slap on a post-it on your mirror and it doesn't do anything.
Right.
So it's about you saying to yourself, what is it that I can strategically start to put in as a habit that means that I'm on a trajectory that makes it more likely that I'm going to achieve that goal. And even the fitness thing, like I heard it put well the other day, rather than saying to yourself, I want to go for a run or I should go for a run, try turning it into an identity piece and say, I am a runner.
Yeah.
Right? You say to yourself, I am a runner.
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, cool. So what does a runner do? Well, they fucking run, right?
Yeah, that's
but
right.
how often? And be realistic. Do you run every 3 days at first?
Yeah.
And do you just run 2K? You know? And what you'll start to find is if you rather than saying, oh, do I feel like going for a run today? You say, I'm a runner and I'm looking in my calendar and today is a run day.
Yeah.
This is one of the days that I run.
Yeah.
And you get that shit going 3 months, 6 months, and before you know it, you are.
You're a runner, yeah.
Amy Cuddy, who's a professor of psychology at Harvard Business School, she's got a great one. She says, don't fake it till you make it, fake it till you become it.
Right. Yeah, okay. I like that. And the habit itself, something that you serve in the end. You end up just going, I like doing this because when I do this, this is what happens. You can't be looking for the end result before the work's done, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works backwards. Sometimes if we're going to keep using running as an example, you do it, you're running all the time, you're not sure if it's working, but then you have like a week off and you go,
you feel it.
I feel shit. Oh, it's because I'm not running.
That's right.
And then you realize you've got to plus it back in.
What about like to my cousin, Dimche and Blagoche, who never run and they don't want to run ever, and when they look at me they go, what are you running from? But they're eating pork chops at the barbecue, smoking Whitfield Blues. What do you say to people that they look at you and they go, what would you do that for, bro? I feel great.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's a great question, and you could probably answer it. You could say, I'm running from a feeling of melancholy and sadness that catches up with me if I don't run.
Yeah, but they don't feel any of that anyway, so they just feel great with the pork chops. They don't need to run.
They haven't got to worry, man.
Yeah,
you know, this is a good example, right? So, you know, when you look at positive psych and people that are fully thriving, some of the interventions they suggest, you would never do them if you weren't doing well. Things like keeping a gratitude journal, doing random acts of kindness on people, right? If you're depressed and struggling to get out of bed and you hate your life, and I say, hey, go and do a random act of kindness, you'll say, why don't you go and fuck yourself?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you are. So then do you feel in respect to that, like for people that work in offices and stuff, and sometimes they ask me questions like, I'm having a problem with this person in the office, or my boss is see you next Tuesday, and all of this stuff. Do you come from the point now, understanding psychology more, that these people are, it's them, not you, like they're buckled in many ways to be like that across the board? Not if it's just being like that to you, but I'm saying if someone's struggling mentally and they're coming across as an arsehole, do you see that person as just a genuine arsehole, or you go, this person's not in a good place, bro?
That's what can happen. You can get to that point where rather than just reacting to their behavior, which so many of us do, you get to pause and go, okay, what might be driving that behavior? And that creates empathy. One of the best examples, Vlad, anger is actually a secondary emotion. So when someone behaves towards you in a way that presents as anger, what the research says is there's something else driving that.
What's primary emotions?
Well, normally it's things that people don't talk about. So you might be feeling scared or anxious or shame or fear or vulnerable. But rather than saying that, you just get angry, right? And this is what we were talking about before. It's almost a taught behavior. You're a little kid in a classroom and you pick up the chair and chuck it, and they'll say, hey, that's naughty, get outside.
Right.
And that becomes an appropriate behavior that you're allowed to do. Whereas you get told, if I say, oh, I'm scared or I'm anxious or I'm worried, they go, you're a little bitch. You know, why are you being such a little pussy?
Yeah.
Cut that out. Don't talk that way.
Yeah.
And so we're taught often when we're really young, these types of emotions, you can show them. These other ones, you better keep that shit to yourself.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, Vladdy, sometimes when someone's acting angry, particularly at work, if someone's being shit to you, you can say, the behavior I'm experiencing is anger, but what's underneath, what's below that iceberg that's driving that? And they're probably never going to tell you, but that can help you to control your reaction and your response.
You get that moment where where you can have that empathy, where you don't let it stuff your day up.
Yeah, and that beautiful, there can be a chasm between how you're feeling and how you respond.
How do you do that when your missus has a go? Because you're trapped in a house, you can't go home at 5 p.m.
You can't.
You know what I mean?
That's why people, I'll tell you something funny. So every day I go in talking about positive psychology to all my clients, and then I come home, my wife or someone in my world says something, and you trip. The people closest to you are the ones that know how to press your buttons the best.
Yeah, someone else told me that. That was a leader of this real estate conference, and he goes, I teach thousands of people every year, and I could go home and the pettiest thing between me and my wife could set me off. Like, I'm like this preacher, and I get home and I'm horrible, you know what I mean?
And it's hard, and it's always about you doing a bit of an audit and saying, hey, could it be that sometimes I'm accidentally saving the best version of myself for people at work, and then when I come home to the people who I love the most, they're copping the shitty one.
Yeah, there you go.
And if that's true, what are you going to do about it?
Do you believe, like on a closing point, do you believe that you're in control of the trajectory of your life, your destiny?
100. This might be for another podcast, my friend.
So you're not into fatalism, determinism, where they say things are predetermined?
Nah. Every person listening to this has all of the power in the palm of their hand to weave a quantum reality that unfolds the exact existence that they want for themselves.
Right, okay, but so people that are whinging about their circumstances, if I was here, if I was that, I was this, you put the power that you didn't do what you needed to do, or you didn't try, or what you didn't work hard enough?
It's that balance between saying, am I going to tattoo a massive V on my forehead and say I'm a victim and I'm going to react to all the bad shit that's happening to me? Or am I going to entertain that I myself actually have the keys to my own kingdom? And so rather than being someone who reacts to change and shit around me that I don't like, get on the front of the wave and be a change champion and be the one that unfolds that shit for yourself. Everybody can do that.
I agree with you. It's tough when you're in the mud, though, like for people that are out there, and we're all in it, like to certain varying degrees. But you're right. If you take that approach, sometimes you don't get to the destination where you thought you wanted to go, but a better one.
And Vlad, you hit it, man. When you're in the mud, right, some of this talk can be fucking annoying. If you're in the mud and there's some cat like me who needs a haircut going, you can get everything you want, you can be sat there saying, hey, fuck you, man, I can't get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, that's right.
But the point we're trying to make here is you need to get yourself up and off baseline and to a place where if you're going to put your mental health on a spectrum, maybe you're out of the minuses and you're at zero, which is normal, which is not enough.
Stable, yeah.
But then from there, what are you going to do to broaden and build beyond it?
Yeah.
And that's
so it's like the journey of 1,000 kilometers, or what do they call 1,000 miles with the one step. Yeah.
That's it.
All right, man. So where can people find you and your channels and stuff like that? What are you on, and how can you help other people get in touch with you in respect to getting you out to them?
Yeah, appreciate you, Vlad. So easiest way, just go to transcend.com.au. And you'll find my website. You can smash it open on there.
I'll put it up,
thanks. I've got a gram that's shit, so you can follow that, but there's like fucking 2 people on it.
What's that?
I think it's JA Transcend.
JA Transcend. I'll put that up.
Chuck that one up there
in the
too.
Show notes as well. It'll be down there.
In fact, if you're on the gram and you want to click that, it'd be a favour to me, friends, because my gram stats are shit.
Follow him. You're on LinkedIn as well.
Oh yeah, LinkedIn, man. Type John Anthony Transcend on LinkedIn. Yeah. That's where I have some. That's where I have some stuff.
He's got some followers there.
Yeah.
Check out his stuff, and if you've got an office, anyone that's running teams of any sort, real estate, consultancy teams, sales teams, whatever.
Any industry.
Anyone that follows this, hit him up. Do you do personal coaching?
I do one-on-ones, 100%.
So if anyone wants to have a chat to John, like for an hour or whatever, in respect to this world that he specializes in, hit him up on The website, Transcend.
Hit the website or find me on LinkedIn as well, Vladdy.
Find me on LinkedIn. Or hit me up and I can transfer you over. Thanks very much, bro.
Oh, man, absolute pleasure. So good seeing you as
Peace
always.
out. Thank you, man. Bruce Super Convenience, another sponsor of the podcast out of Canberra, Dan and the team over there. They supply the best snacks from around the globe straight to your doorstep here in Australia. Bruce Super Convenience. It's www.brucesuper.com.au. brucesuper.com.au. This week, Dan has got new Oreos Brookie O flavour creams. He's got G Fuel, which is it's a Spider-Man actual version. So if you drink this, you could end up, throwing, webs all around the place while you go to the gym after you've had 250 milligrams of caffeine just to do 15, bench presses. He's got Cheetos Puffs, honey barbecue, bro. Listen, go to their website, brucesuper.com.au. They'll give you 10% off in the code VLAD. 10% off for any of the Vladiators after you do a big purchase. The cherry on the top here from Dan is if you order and you put the code VLAD, he'll give you extras on top of the discount. So it's probably like 20% off. It's the number one Aussie snack plug, Bruce Super Convenience, brucesuper.com.au. Stuff from United States, United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Japan, Middle East. Have a look on their website. There's nothing you can't find there that's mad for snacking on chips and drinks and chocolates and lollies and I don't know what else, bro. Cakes and cereals and you've got the whole thing, bro. Nesquik, you got it there, right? So you better be Nesquik and get in on the deal. brucesuper.com.au, brucesuper.com.au. Code is Vlad. Support the supporters that support the podcast and keep this coming to you, Mac. Odyssey Coffee, bro. Fantastic sponsors of the podcast. I'm on their website right now, which is www.odysseycoffee.com.au. They're giving a 10% off for the code VLAD. Get in and get the 1 kilo of Odyssey Coffee blend number 5. I love that one. It's the nicest tasting coffee. My missus smashed through a kilo of that in 2 weeks. I don't know. That's probably why she's complaining. She's tired because she gets to bed at 3 a.m. in the morning from all the Odyssey Coffee. They've got that. They've got a Gargia Classic Pro coffee machine. You can buy that there. Have a look at their team, Matthew, Jim and Terry, coming out from Melbourne, from the Mornington Peninsula out into Melbourne now. They're serving coffees around the whole Australia. They've got decadent hot chocolate, drinking chocolate. You've got 250 gram Blue Moon coffee, which is some new boutique one. You've got the new blend 1 kilo, and then you've got the Odyssey number 5, which is their staple classic blend, which I love that one. It's a fantastic one. I was at a wedding the other day and I gave a bag to, not a coffee bag, to my mate Chris, and him and his missus, a little machine to be honest, she and he drank that whole 250 grams or whatever it was, and they go, man, that coffee was out of control. And these guys are hipsters. They wear baggy pants. Like this guy goes shopping at Suzanne Gray or Jackie E. Like, it's a bloke, but you don't know where he's getting his clothes from. The missus in the machine. I said that before. odysseycoffee.com.au. It's odysseycoffee.com.au. And they're the ones that are going to supply you all the goods, bro. Mention Vlad, of course, when you get onto their website. Order some stuff and they'll look after you. Odyssey Coffee, official sponsors, absolute legends. Metropolitan Stone, a fantastic sponsor out of here, out of Melbourne, bro. Love these guys. www.metropolitanstone.com.au. Oh, what do they do, Vlad? Cabinets. Cabinet makers, small family business with 30 years experience, going around the whole of Victoria doing cabinets, bro. What are you going to do when you want to do a benchtop changeover or a kitchen facility or new kitchens or laundries or bathrooms or built-ins or TV units or wardrobes or linen presses? Where do you go, bro? Metropolitan Stone, the only stone in the world. So you go to www.metropolitanstone.com.au, metropolitanstone.com.au. Matty Freitas is going to look after you like a little freak, bro. You're going to go a little freak. 0425 797 488. Bleach that! 0425 797 488. Matty Freitas and the guys down at Metropolitan Stone. They can do anything in Victoria, by the way. They can do Geelong. They can do East Keilor. They can do Melbourne, Carlton, St Albans. Throw a burek at these blokes when they come over. They can do it for you. And literally, throw one. He'll catch it, he'll throw it down, and he'll make your kitchen and put the burek in. Beautiful, bro. Poetry in motion. Matthew Freitas and the guys at metropolitanstone.com.au. Mention Vlad, 0425 797 488. Mention Vlad. Support the supporters that support the podcast. Hi, guys. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that. A bit of a chat, some enlightening points there, some self-help motivation station right there. All right, man, I'm going to kick it off and keep going, bro. That's it for the episode. Takeoff and Transcend is the name of this episode, dedicated to one of my favorite rappers, Takeoff. And I put on a little legendary track of his now for YouTube. It's going to cut